All right, people. We are back. We're back. I'm not going to ask if you missed us because we know the answer, but it's good to be back in the room, back in the building with my guy on the JWJ podcast. Shane, how's it going, bro?
What it do, what it is.
And all of that. Look, I know y'all missed us. We owe you a little bit of an explanation. Really, we don't, but we love you, so we're going to do it anyway. And that explanation, in one word, life. Things happen. Um, Everybody understands this is something that we truly enjoy doing. This, again, is a passion project for us, but at the same time, things get in the way. I mean, parenthood, jobs. I mean, we're both in the thick of our jobs right now, so there's just been a lot going on, but please believe that we never forgot about you, the fans, the listeners, and we appreciate you guys for still being here.
Yeah, man, and it's been a while, man. I think our last pod was the end of July, and we're already into the third week of August. So, a lot of stuff's been going on. Obviously me working in the newspaper business. I'm a sports editor at my paper. Football season is going. Obviously, you being a teacher, you got all these heathens coming in each week.
Hey, 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 hey,
So,
hey, 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 hooligans.
oh, okay.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, but there's a lot going on. I mean, we've had technical stuff. I mean, I know you had your issue with your headset.
Rest in peace. Rest in peace to the old headphones. We
Yeah,
love you.
I got issues going on. My alternator went out on my car. I haven't been able to drive my car in like 3 weeks. I'm trying to save every penny I got to get that fixed. So it's been like life has been uh yeah, like life has sucked for the last like 2-3 weeks.
Hmm. Hey, things might get bad, but then I think about the alternative, and I'm like, you know what? I'll take this. It's cool. It's
Yeah, it
cool.
could it could always be worse. So,
Always,
we just
always.
got to keep showing up.
That's it. That's it. You win by playing. You play the game. You hey hello, no, but
You play to win the game.
that's it. That's it.
You don't play it to
But
just play it.
the ramble. But we're here. Like Shane mentioned, the last episode we did, it was actually, if I recall, I think it was on August 1st because the last episode we did was about the passing of Bill Russell, which was on July 31st. So I think we got in and recorded our episode the following night. But since then, yeah, there's been a lot going on. We're going to try not to hold you guys too long, but there's a few very important things that we want to make sure that we hit. And I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. You guys know that as often as possible, I do like to shine a light on the ladies. I do want to go ahead and talk about the WNBA for a little bit because within the last week, we got the start of the WNBA playoffs. Now, there's been some interesting developments already. Prior to the playoffs beginning, we did see, the final appearance of the great Sylvia Fowles. Unfortunately, her squad did not make the postseason, so her career is a wrap. But a heck of a career that it was. So shout out to Sylvia on everything that she accomplished, and best of luck, best wishes to you in whatever you decide to do moving on from your playing days in the W. So kudos to you. Congratulations on an awesome run. But quickly, just to transition over, like I said, we do want to go ahead and get into what we're looking at with the postseason right now. First thing that I want to point out, as expected, the top two seeds ended up being, the Las Vegas Aces with the number one and the Chicago Sky, the defending champions at the two. So the matchups that we're looking at in the first round, we've got Las Vegas going up against the 8 seed Phoenix Mercury. We've got the 2 seed Chicago Sky going up against the 7 seed New York Liberty. We have the 3 seed Connecticut Sun going up against the 6 seed Dallas Wings. And then we have the 4 seed Seattle Storm going up against the Washington Mystics holding down the 5 spot. So a few games have been played already. One first round series has actually already been decided because the Aces did not come to mess around. Their first game was unfortunately, late in the game, it was spotlighted by an unfortunate injury. We saw Phoenix Mercury, remember Shea Petty, go down with an injury that turned out to be an Achilles injury. So, best wishes on recovery to her. But without her in game 2, it just got a lot worse. Vegas came in, did what they had to do, and ended up throttling Phoenix by, I believe it was 37. And with their first round series being best of 3s, that one is already over. So Phoenix has already bowed out. They're the first team out of the postseason, and Vegas is moving on. They are awaiting the winner of the Seattle and Washington. I know that sounds funny. Shane pointed that out earlier. They're waiting for the winner of the Storm Mystic series coming up here, hopefully in the next few days.
Yeah, man. And by the way, speaking of the Aces, if A'ja Wilson is not the league MVP, then what are we doing here?
It look, and I'm gonna tell you though, the only thing that I think is gonna make that tricky is, and this is in the most positive way possible. The only thing that's gonna make that tricky, and I think somebody else whose name is in the hat, is probably going to be Breanna Stewart. The one reason that I think there could be a hang up on A'ja Wilson, Kelsey Plum. Heard like the two of them, honestly, on any given night, you're not sure who's Batman, who's Robin. And I think that could possibly be the only hang up that could keep her from getting that trophy this year.
I just think with them having the best record in the league and the way A'ja Wilson is she's been like the top player for them. I mean, Kelsey's done her thing, and Vegas has a really good team. I mean, shout out to Chelsea Gray. Like they got a really good team and excellently coached by a Hall of Famer. Sucks that we couldn't meet her when we were in Knoxville, but Becky Hammond's done her thing with the Aces, and I think it's pretty much Asia's to lose. I think. I know Breanna Stewart's done her thing, but I think it's Asia's world, and we're just living in it.
It's I mean it. I might have to agree to disagree. I because I feel like Brianna's doing. I feel like, granted, they finished at the 4 spot, but I can only imagine where that team would have been if she wasn't there. If we look at, there was actually history set in Vegas this season. A'ja and Kelsey became the first 2 teammates in league history to both finish the year scoring over 700 total points. Kelsey was the leader. Kelsey actually outscored A'ja on the season if you look at overall totals. So it's like not to put anything on A'ja, not to try to hold her back in any way, but if we look at those 2 MVP situations, one of those 2 ladies had a lot more help behind them.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's kind of the classic, is it the best player on the best team, or is it the person that's most valuable and the one that impacts the winning the most? Breanna Stewart's always been that player. So I mean, I think in this case, I mean, Brianna's done it all already. I mean, if she was to win it, I wouldn't be upset. I just think, I don't know, maybe I'm a little biased. I like A'ja Wilson. We talked about that before we got on there. I like A'ja Wilson. So
yeah,
I just think she's had a phenomenal year. She's really impacted the game in so many ways, and that could be swayed by if they were to somehow meet in the postseason, I mean, we might get the matchup of Asia and Brianna Stewart. We might get that matchup. I'm looking forward to it.
Mm. Yeah. I mean that could sway it. And then unfortunately, just like in the NBA, that's more reason to why I feel like if it's going to be a regular season award, that award needs to be given out at the end of the regular season because
Yeah, for sure.
I that's one thing I've always had a problem with, and we've talked about it in the past. I've always had an issue with certain awards being given out after the postseason has started, because then you'll always have so many people that want to argue, oh, well, look what so and so did in the postseason. It's not a postseason award. So I feel like that has to be taken into consideration. And anybody that reps the league, if you're hearing me, take this into consideration. Regular season awards need to be given out in the regular season. So it is what it is on that. On the flip side, Shane, and there's one other series that I really want to talk about because there's something very interesting about it, and I'll explain that, as we go. I really want to talk about this 2-7 matchup between Chicago and New York. Now, we knew it was going to be something worth watching because on one hand, you have the defending champs. You have Candace Parker. You have Allie Quigley, Emma Meeseman. You have tons of talent on the Chicago side. You have, the reigning finals MVP in Kalia Copper. Like there's so much talent on the Chicago side. And looking across the court, Sabrina freaking Ionescu. Without Sabrina, this series is probably over already. But she led the charge in game one. I believe at some point in the fourth quarter, New York was down by, it might have been like 13, and came back, won the game in regulation to take a 1-0 lead over the defending champs. Now, game two was just played, and
Played.
and by
Played.
and by played, I mean they did run the clock, and there were 10 ladies on the floor. There were some referees, and there was somebody running the scoreboard. And it's unfortunate that they did, because it ended to the tune of Chicago blowing New York out by 38. So,
Give me liberty or give me death or something.
well, we're about to change the name then, because that's exactly what we got. Now, I want to use this series as an example because we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording. And I want to bring it back up again because this really, really annoys me. Now, this season is the first year that we're seeing this new playoff format in the WNBA. Prior to this season, the way that the playoffs were set up, the top two seeds got a bye. Get this though, for 2 rounds. So the way that it would start off in the first round, the bottom four, so 5, 6, 7, and 8 would have to go at it in a single elimination game. Now, the 2 winners of those would face the 3 and the 4, who also got a 1-round bye. So while the 1 and the 2 are just waiting in the wings, the 3 and the 4 gets to wait for a round, and then they play the winner of these 2, almost like what the NBA would think is like play-in games. They come in and handle it that way. Now, it's been changed this season. One, there's no more single elimination, which I'm perfectly fine with that. The first round is a set best of 3. Again, don't have a problem with that. I feel like series do a much better job of showing you who the better team is, because there's much more time for adjustments. It's like, what if things happen? A lot of that what if, I feel, is eliminated in that instance, because, for example, let's look at that Vegas Phoenix series again real quick. Let's say that Phoenix is up in game 1 by like 10, and then Shea Petty goes down and they end up losing the game. Taurasi already wasn't playing. So they're missing a lot of star power over there. Of course, again, we already know, yes, I'm going to keep throwing her name out there. We already know they had to spend, this season without Brittany Griner. So Phoenix is decimated at this point. If Shea Petty goes down in that one game, single elimination game, chances are pretty much out the door because so much is already missing. Now, I say all that to say the reason that I relate that to the Chicago-New York series. Now this series is split at one game apiece. New York came in, did what they were supposed to do. They came in and punched Chicago in the face. That fourth quarter run was one of the nicest I've seen in a while. They came in, did what they had to do. I think New York held Chicago to maybe I think they missed, it was 10 of their last 11 shots of the game, something like that, something outrageous. But where I get annoyed is the format of the 3-game series. Now, the way that this is set up, the higher seed gets the first 2 games at home in their arena. Cool. Sounds all right. But in the chance that you lose one of those, you have to go try to close out the series. Even though you're the higher seed, you have to go on the road to try to close out your series. To me, I'm not okay with that format at all. It doesn't make any sense to me. Are you on the fence? You leaning one way or the other? What are you thinking about this?
I think having it best of 3 almost kind of lends itself to that kind of disparity. It's like, we talked about it with the NBA for a while before they changed theirs. We talked about the whole back when it was 2-3-2. And I always thought that the team that had home court advantage was kind of at a disadvantage in a way, just because it's if it puts the pressure on you to, you got to win one of those first 2, because if you don't, you're screwed, because there's a chance, say you mess around and go down 0-2, you could mess around and end up getting closed out, get closed out on the other team's home floor, and you don't even get a chance to go back home. So I think with it being best of 3, if you give the team with home court the first 2, and then give the road team the last one, I don't know. I think you should just alternate it. Just have it where team with the higher seed gets the first game, lower seed gets the second game, and the team with home court gets the third game. I mean, that to me, I feel like makes the most sense. But at the same time, these things are imperfect. I do like it a little bit better than the previous setup, but I think with it being best of 3, there's some room to clean that up for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, just I agree with you. I do think, I mean, there's going to be changes made. I definitely feel like that's coming. Maybe it might even end up being a kind of thing where they extend it from a best of 3 to a best of 5. It could be something where maybe they lengthen the series, but I'm definitely on that side where I feel like I totally get where you're coming from. It does kind of lend itself to having to be that way, because I don't think you're going to find a league that's going to be like, hey, we're going to go back and forth for single games, So with it being best of 3, that's definitely not going to happen. Especially when we're dealing with a league where, as we've seen throughout this season, especially, travel is a struggle already.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah, and I don't even, that might need to be an entirely different episode on its own, because we're trying not to hold you guys too long. But if I start on that, we'll be watching the sun come up here in a little bit. But but I mean, I'm with you. I'm glad that the league decided to get rid of single game elimination, but I do think that there needs to be something else done to kind of keep this momentum going, because I do feel like the league is doing a terrific job. I think that trying to remain contemporary and trying to improve certain aspects of the game, I think they're doing a great job. But moving forward, I do think that something has to be done looking at that in particular.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think single elimination has its place.
College.
I think you need it. I think you could stand to have it um in the WNBA or even in the NBA. You know, I'm an advocate. Uh, I would love to see the NBA experiment with a single elimination like tournament where like everybody's in it. I would love to see something like that. They would never do it for the NBA finals or anything like that.
Oh
But
no, too much money.
you can't tell me that if they said, okay, we're going to open up the playoff to every team in the league, and we're going to say, all right, we're going to seed the teams, whatever, and it's going to be like March Madness, except we're going to have this in June. Like it'd
Mm,
be interesting.
mm,
You know, as far as the WNBA is concerned, I'm okay with single elimination if it's say it's like the first round. Um, I was okay with that. I thought that was kind of interesting. I do think that you know, you kind of, as you alluded to earlier about, you know, teams that are, you know, you find out who the better team is over the course of the series. I think that's a very strong argument, and I agree with you on that. I like the drama of single elimination, but
mm.
past that, I mean, anybody could have an off night. I mean, think about it. We just saw, you know, the Liberty, you know, just you know, somebody unplugged their controller, you know, this user has left the match, whatever.
Right,
um you know, say that's their one game and they're out like that, that would, you know, it kind of cheats the product a little bit. So
right.
I get what you're saying about, you know, doing away with single elimination. I would like it at a higher level, just to see it. I like the drama of like a one game winner take all kind of deal. But yeah, so um with that being said, I mean, what else you have anything else you want to add about the WNBA playoff?
Just kind of piggybacking off what you just said, I think a nice little way that we could kind of meet in the middle on it is we could possibly still include one round of single elimination for maybe like say the bottom, you know, four teams or whatever, almost like the play in the NBA. Because
Yeah.
let's think about it. The WNBA right now is only 12 teams.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and let's try that. Let's include them all, like you said. And we start with, you know, that single game play in or that single game elimination, and then we just go to series from there. And I think that's something that could possibly generate more money for the league and hopefully get them to a point of expansion, which I know is something that's been on their minds for the last few years.
Yeah, I'd love to see, I'd love to see some of those, like, you know, some of those franchises that contracted way back. I mean, I'd love to see the Cleveland Rockers or,
The
you
Charlotte
know,
Sting.
yeah, the bring back the Sacramento Monarchs, bring
Yeah.
back the Miami Soul, like, you know, like bring back the what was it? The Orlando Miracle?
Yeah. And then there was we're forgetting the Detroit, was it the Fury?
The
Detroit,
Shock.
the Shock. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm thinking no, the Fury is that team that Master P played for back in the day.
Yeah,
Oh
man.
man.
Bring back all the classic like WNBA teams. Bring back the Utah
Absolutely.
Stars and all those.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
with that. I don't know who's gonna get I don't know who's gonna get the expansion, or you know who's a candidate to get get some franchises, but it'd be cool to see more than 12 teams in WNBA because I like, you know, a lot of
Mhm.
people that are more casual fans that don't understand the WNBA.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of people complain about like that it's being reported on the way that the NBA is being reported on. Like I
It's the same
like
game.
Yeah, I like how they're putting out like stats and things like that. Like, uh,
Hmm.
this person's the first to do this in WNBA history. This is like we need that.
Absolutely.
Those things are needed to
Mm.
provide context because without context, you don't really have anything. Like,
You know,
like if you just went out and all these things happened and nobody knows like who set records and this and that, it's literally what sports are about.
every
It's about
future,
numbers.
every future has a history.
Yeah, like it's about numbers. It's about who's done what and when. Like
Hmm.
those things are important. That's literally what sports are about. So
Hmm.
um people just need to educate themselves and understand that this is coverage that's needed. This is coverage that has been missing for a long time, and this is why people
Hmm.
haven't uh gravitated toward the WNBA. People like numbers, things like that. And if people have been watching the basketball over the last few years, the level of play in the WNBA is as high as it's ever been. I mean,
So
and it's only
pure,
getting better.
so pure.
Yeah, and it's the purest expression I think of the game because you strip away and even the athleticism is getting better. The
Hmm.
athleticism is higher, the skill level is higher, players can do a lot of different things. Um, players, like I said, players are more athletic. Players can do a lot of different things. There's better ball handlers, there's better shooters, there's great passers everywhere. Like there's so many things to get excited about with the WNBA. And
Hmm.
you know, I think people that try to cut the legs off of it, they're just kind of missing the point. So that's pretty much all I got on the WNBA with that. Hopefully we get some more compelling matchups as the playoffs go.
Oh, I'm sure.
Um,
Oh yeah.
we'll see if the Aces can you know hoist the trophy or who's going to
This
knock
is
them
it.
off.
I'm fully convinced this is it. They've had some bumps in the road in the past, but I think this is it. I feel like the only team that could possibly knock them off right now is Chicago, and Chicago's gonna have to hold it together just to get there because they wouldn't see each other, until the finals. So it's they're gonna have to put in some work, and they're gonna have to make sure that they're in it for the long haul. And speaking of in it for the long haul, Shane, super random segue, but can somebody please get Kevin Durant on the phone and let him know that we're tired of the drama? Um, what's the latest you're hearing between him and his best friends in that Brooklyn front office?
Yeah, so I mean, we've while we were out, tending to life and things like that. I mean, a lot of stuff has come out about the Kevin Durant saga. We've it's not so much about Kyrie anymore. It was KD and Kyrie, on our last few episodes before we had our break here. But since our last episode, I mean, we had an ultimatum where KD was like, "Look, it's either you fire Sean Marks and Steve Nash, or you trade me." And that's a weird position to take, just because Sean Marks has done a great job with that team. Now they did make some mistakes. I think the biggest mistake was
Signing
um,
Kevin Durant. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
no, the biggest mistake was when you did get KD and Kyrie, you asked them what they wanted, and obviously they don't know what the hell they want. So that was a bad idea. You don't want to ask people that aren't like guys that are like the greatest leaders in the world, like who they want on their team, because I mean, it's kind of like one of those things where like guys don't really like a guy like LeBron can take inventory of, okay, what guys work around me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why he's won titles, is that he got the right guys around him that best, amplify his best talents. With KD
Mm-hmm.
and Kyrie, it's like those guys get buckets. That's what they do.
The questions about which coaches are going to work for me. Hey, Kenny, we out here repping for you, bro.
Yeah, like, and I mean that was one of those things where I feel like they gave up on Atkinson a little too soon, even though uh the roster the roster kind of had a college feel to it, where like the coach could kind of develop the team, and younger guys were stepping up and getting minutes, and you had a lot of guys to get excited about. You had the Spencer Dinwiddies and the Jared Allens and all that, and then they get shipped
Karis
out.
LeVert.
Yeah, Karis LeVert, like Joe Harris, like a bunch of really good players that kind of blossomed, and it was one of those groups that you know Spencer Dinwiddie would be a nice piece to have right now with around
Mm-hmm.
Kyrie and all those guys. And now he's in Dallas getting ready to play with Luka for a second. Well, yeah, I guess you could say second season.
Full
So
season.
so yeah, I mean, we've gotten all kinds of stuff. We got the ultimatum. Josiah comes out and basically, even though he didn't
Says,
explicitly throw his support behind Nash and Marks, he's on Nash and Marks' side.
yeah.
And then, I mean, there was even a report which KD came out and said was BS, was the whole he would rather retire than come back to the, and I'm like, dude, come on. Like, dude, I'm with KD on this. This is getting ridiculous.
Mm,
Like KD's a lot of things, but you can never question how much that dude loves and cares about the game.
mm,
Like that dude loves the game. He wants to compete. He wants to play. So he's not going to sit out. He's not going to be unprofessional in that way. So I think at this point, it's like, look, they got Ben Simmons coming back. Kyrie says he wants to play there. He's opted in. It's like they got a good roster. They still got Seth Curry. They got, I think they re-signed Patty Mills, right?
yeah, he's still
Um,
there.
so yeah, like you have guys in place that it's a pretty good roster. And even though the East is stacked, which is something you haven't been able to say very often over the last 10, 15 years,
Right.
like they have an opportunity here if they get everybody back and everybody's healthy. They could be one of the best teams in the East. I mean, granted, you got Milwaukee there, you got Boston, you got Miami, you got Philly. Like, there's a bunch of teams there, but Brooklyn, with the roster they have, especially with the unknown of Ben Simmons, when he's healthy, that dude's an all-star. And
Mm,
so, and defensively, he's one of the five best defensive guys, on the wing in the game. So there's so much to be excited about. So like, why would you want to leave that? And that's my whole thing. It's like, why would you want to leave that? I think ultimately he'll stay there unless Brooklyn's just like, look, we'll take whatever for him, which they've shown they're not willing to just give up anything or
mm,
just take on anything to get him off the team. I think he's
mm.
gonna end up showing up, and they're going to run it back with the team they got. Ultimately, like I said, the pressure is probably going to be on Steve Nash to show he can coach. I don't think
Mhm.
he's necessarily had a chance to prove that yet. So we'll see how that goes. But I mean, we got other stuff too that's going on. We got, LeBron re-ups. He gets an extension that runs through, I think, the 24-25 season. He's got a player option for that year.
Mhm.
So we could see him and Bronny team up. That's there. With that extension coming in, I think, what is it? What, 2 years and how much?
97 mil.
97. Yeah.
I my squad. I it's honestly I'm torn again. But and here's why. So on one hand, I'm like, LeBron, you have earned every penny that is going into your bank account. I mean, you're one of the greatest basketball players that I've ever seen in my life. Just in every form of the game. I mean, you put the ball in LeBron's hands and things happen. Uh, at the end of the day, he's an executor. He's going to do what needs to be done. So from that standpoint, get your money. I totally understand it. You are entitled to every little bit that you deserve. But on the other side of the equation, where I struggle just a little bit with it is there are so many question marks that are taking place right now in La La Land to where taking a little bit back off the top of that might have helped the team out a little bit more than you signing for what you did. Now, again, if you're listening, this is not me taking any shots. This is not me telling this man he did the wrong thing. Get your money, but also understand that getting that money could possibly hinder what the team is able to do as far as strengthening this roster. The roster right now, to me, does not look that great. I mean, of course, Bron is locked in. We have Anthony Davis still still have Westbrook because, Westbrook opted in. There's been talks of trying to move him wherever possible, possibly trying to ship him out in something for Kyrie, getting other teams involved. Like, I think there's possibly been San Antonio. There's been a lot of things floating around, but outside of that core, the team is rather shallow. I mean, some of the guys that we've brought back, it's been it's been a decent haul, but you also have to look at what's been lost. I mean, Malik Monk is gone. We've lost a ton of guys that could have helped to fill that roster out. So again, that's kind of why I'm stuck in the middle. It's like you've done what you've done to earn that pay. So if that's what you want, by all means, go get your money, but also do that with the understanding that that could possibly hinder what the front office can do moving forward with possibly trying to fill that roster out with worthwhile talent to surround you with.
Is Melo coming back?
Something in my gut says no. I don't know. I feel like something in me just says that he's going to end up somewhere else. And I don't think it'll be I don't think it'll be LA. I don't I think he's going to end up look, the way that things are going for us right now, the way that we like to just watch our own division get better, Melo's about to go sign with Sacramento. I mean, it's knowing our luck, that's how it's going to end up. Melo's going to end up a king, by opening day.
If it's not the Kings, there's other teams in the Pacific that if he was to go there, that would definitely tip the scales in other teams' favors. But I'm not going to talk about that. I
Don't.
think
Mm,
I think Melo proved he still has some in the tank.
mm-hmm.
For some reason, and you could back me up on this if you feel this way too. Like Melo after the OKC deal and all that stuff, and the stuff in New York, like I don't know why, but it felt like when Melo didn't get picked up by a team for forever, right before he got with Portland.
Portland, yeah.
It's like he got to Portland, and it's like, oh yeah, like Melo can still hoop,
Mm-hmm.
but it's almost like it would almost be like, in a way, it feels like Melo's kind of like, it felt like he just kind of sat out for like 3 years and then just like randomly like reemerged, and they're like, oh yeah, he can still hoop. And it's like, I mean, it's not like he was like Grant Hill or nothing. It's like, dude,
Right.
it's like, this is Carmelo Anthony. He can still go. It's just, teams were, his value had went down so much based on these teams he played on, and perceptions, and everything else. It's almost like what was happening to Carmelo is what's kind of happening to Russell Westbrook now. Is
Mm-hmm.
like people were convinced that Melo, like the game had passed him by.
Mm-hmm.
Like his game no longer translated. Like, it's not about mid-range shots and can he defend, and this is like, dude, there's always a spot for a guy to put the ball in the hole.
The mid range will never die.
And here's the thing with the comparison with Russell Westbrook. Like we talked about Melo, right? Like, oh, the mid range is dead and this and this. Melo can still put the ball in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
No one questions that. The problem
Mm-hmm.
with Westbrook is can't put the ball in the hole. He
Well,
can put
he
the
did
ball
no, no,
everywhere but the
no, no,
hole.
no, 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 no. He did, because if you remember, there's a hole between the top of the backboard and that overhead camera.
Ah,
I can recall at least 3 times that he did get the ball in that. You get what I'm. Never mind.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like basically what was happening to Carmelo is what's starting to happen to Russell Westbrook, except Westbrook's case is a lot more dire because it's like it's like all his flaws that he's had his whole career, because he's basically been the same guy his whole career, give or take a few pounds or whatever. Like, he's been the same guy the whole time. Same thing with Melo. He's been the same guy the whole time. It's like now
Mm-hmm.
Melo's kind of that guy. He's like, okay, I'm cool with coming off the bench. I'm cool with, playing, 15, 18 minutes a night because he knows
And
he's going to
that
get shots.
and that right there is the difference.
Yeah.
So just like you said, it's starting to happen with Russ.
Yeah.
Yeah, Russ has not been broken. He given his talent, I mean, I understand you should have certain expectations, but at the same time, you have to reach a certain understanding at a certain point where what you used to provide teams, that's not what works anymore. And you remember, I'm gonna say it till I'm blue in the face. You remember the day that they announced that Russell Westbrook was going to be a Laker, I almost immediately texted you and I was like, this is some BS.
Mm-hmm.
I was not a fan and
Mm-hmm.
I'm still not, because and again, I've said it repeatedly. It's nothing against Russell Westbrook personally, but you cannot put him on a team with two other ball dominant guys and expect him to be the third fiddle. He is not at a point right now mentally in his career where he's okay with that.
Yeah, he's
So,
always been like super prideful, man. It's like he's that guy. Like he's super headstrong. It's like
mm-hmm,
he's always been that dude. He's always been stubborn. Like
mm-hmm,
the question isn't his effort. It's not his heart or how much he cares.
mm-hmm,
It's what is he doing with his game to make a situation work. He's always kind of, everybody's had to kind of go around him. He's never
mm-hmm,
really changed his game or shown a willingness to change his game. It's like
mm-hmm.
it's always been like two separate offenses or something. It's like when Harden was there, everybody knew the ball went to Harden. When they had to start sharing the ball, it wasn't a good fit. It's like it was
Like,
two guys that looked to score predominantly, and yeah, like they put up numbers, but did they get any closer to the ultimate goal? No.
and like funny flashback. I have to bring this up, and I'm sure you remember. Like, so back during, we'll call them the twilight days in OKC, there was a stint where KD went down, and Russ basically had to run the team by himself because, of course, by now James Harden's already gone.
Yeah.
So Russ comes out. Russ balls out and da 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 da. And I remember we had a conversation, and I brought up, I was like, "Hey, man, Durant's about to bounce." And it was like, not only that, but I think that once Durant leaves, we are going to see a side of Russ that we've never seen before. And within about 2-3 years of that, Russ was a league MVP.
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, once he's in a position where he can be that guy and everything runs through him, he's perfectly fine. But the unfortunate side of that is he's been in the league this long now. At this point, it's what, 14, 15 years for him?
Yeah,
He's because
it's
he was
getting up there.
drafted in, what was it, 08, I believe.
Yeah, it was
Um,
either 08 or 09. I know
because I
Harden, I think Harden was 09.
Yeah, so he must have been 08 because Durant was 07.
Yeah.
So I think they were all back to back. But so he's been in the league this long, and let's be real. Russell Westbrook, this is the first time in his career that he's being put in a position where he's expected to take a back seat to somebody.
Yeah.
Once he's achieved that level of stardom. I mean, in OKC, it was easy to switch it off because they're all young guys. It's back to
Yeah.
that whole like college mindset that you were
Yeah,
talking
everybody
about.
was
But
on the same trajectory.
yeah, but it's like now that he's reached that, that he's reached the mountaintop as far as individual accolades go. And now he's looking at you and he's like, you want me to what? You're saying I'm only going to get how many shots? I'm going to play for how long? You want me to come off the bench? He still has not fixed his mind to understand just how valuable he is if he's willing to fit into a team concept in a different way. He still thinks if he's not that guy, he's not effective.
Yeah, and
And
this is basically like this is like the Allen Iverson end of his career 2.0.
100, yes.
It's like, yeah, this was a guy that played in the NBA Finals. This was a guy that had 48 in the NBA Finals. This is also a guy
Don't
that was
bring that
league
up again.
MVP.
Don't bring that up again.
So it's, I mean, y'all won that series though, like
It
handily.
doesn't matter.
But like this is a similar situation. You have an aging star who always got by on like kind of his natural gifts. Wasn't ever really like a great shooter. He could score points, but he wasn't gonna do it efficiently. Allen Iverson was the same way. Allen Iverson was a gunner that, you know, as he got older, he wasn't as good defensively. Wasn't like a great 3-point shooter. He could shoot, but he needed a lot of shots to get going. It's
Career, yeah,
like,
career field goal percentage for him, I think, was somewhere in the like low to mid 40s.
yeah, and see
Yeah, and I think
yeah.
his threes were even lower than that.
Yeah, and like you get to see guys now where their games change in that they realize, okay, how what where can I be most effective? I think for Russ, his thing, if he could just develop a corner three, if he could develop a corner three, or you know, lean more into, you know, it's less about numbers and more about facilitating and
Effectiveness.
defending and being like more of an off-ball force, like a guy that's maybe
Mm,
a cutter or a guy that can do some other stuff. Like
mm.
that's the step the Lakers need him to take. The problem is he don't want to take that step. The self-awareness is not there. It's like he's getting dogged. He was losing confidence in his shot. He was getting benched in the fourth quarter. Like all these things were happening, and he's still thinking that his way is still the best way. It's like if you play with LeBron James and you can't make it work with LeBron,
Right.
it's like, dude, like you see what types of players thrive next to this guy. And it's really just, you know, it's just, I don't know. I just think you need to I just think if you're not, it's either adapt or die.
If
And
you
he's
can't,
refusing to adapt.
if you can't, just like you said, if you can't find a way to fit in with one of the players who is still regarded as arguably the best in the world, it ain't them. It's not them. Like, even, I mean, case in point, even when he was in New Orleans, uh Anthony Davis is looked at as that guy and this and that, but there were always questions because the team would always underperform. There were always questions as to, can he ever be that guy? And then next thing you know, he goes to LA, and while he's still a lot of times playing as that second hand to LeBron, even once he was there, you still saw that there were times where he had his opportunity and he was not afraid to go in. Those 2020 finals, there, look, we were talking about that, and there was even a span of the finals where we were like, yo, AD might end up taking this trophy himself. Like, Anthony Davis might end up being the finals MVP, but it's because he was willing to take a back seat to another star that was in front of him, and he knew to bide his time and that eventually his was going to come.
Yeah.
And that's Russ's problem. That's Russ's biggest problem right now, is that step A is know your role and make it work. Step B is, I could still get my time once I do this. And he just still does not understand that step A needs to come first.
Yeah. And you know, and like you said, the biggest thing is like the biggest thing is with AD when he's healthy, it's like we know what he can do. I mean, this is a 6'10, 6'11, 7-footer. And he's got the ball skills. Like he can handle the ball, he can bring the ball up, he can break his man down off the dribble at his sides.
And he can
He
hit
can
from
shoot the
anywhere.
ball from the perimeter.
Yeah.
Like he can score from anywhere on the court. It's like he doesn't offensively, he has no holes. There's nothing that playing with LeBron that he suffers from. Like, it's not like, oh, well, we need him to be a pick and roll partner with LeBron, but he can't shoot, or there's no
Mm-hmm.
holes from them from an offensive standpoint. Plus, defensively, he can cover up so many guys' mistakes. So he's a seamless fit with LeBron.
Right.
But like with Russ, it's like, dude, like think about all the guys that LeBron's played with, be it elite or not elite. There's a certain guy that needs to be around LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. When he was
Gotta have
in
spot up
Miami,
shooters. Yeah.
yeah, like when he was in Cleveland the first time, Boobie Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
When he was in Miami, Mario Chalmers.
Mm-hmm.
When he went back to Cleveland, Kyrie.
Mm-hmm.
he gets to LA. Like
And a certain type of big when you're looking at like, Ilgauskas and Bosch. And,
yeah, like
it's
you need guys that fill those gaps and
Mhm.
accentuate your skill set, especially if you're playing with a guy like LeBron who's gonna have the ball, things like that. Like we talk about fit all the time about certain guys you want to with around certain guys. Like Russ is a guy that at this stage in his career, like he has to be the guy in order for him to play the way he wants to play.
Mhm.
It's not about playing how the team needs you to play or filling the role the team wants. It's more of I got to get my stuff in, and how am I supposed to get my stuff in if I don't have the ball? And I'd rather be over here. And it's like, yeah, he's gonna play hard, but at the same time, like you can't get mad when they bench you because you're
Mhm.
hitting the side of the backboard on 14 to 18-foot jumpers in the post.
Pride is a beast, man.
Yeah, and like this is a guy that averaged a triple double on multiple occasions and won league MVP, but it's a different league now from when he won MVP. It's
Mhm.
like it's a different league, period. It's like
Mhm.
I think a lot of people kind of soured on KD after him leaving to go to Golden State.
Mhm.
Russ was on his revenge tour
Mhm.
and he did something that nobody had done since Oscar Robertson. He averaged a triple double.
Right.
And that
And
was
like you
kind of
said
an
multiple
anomaly.
times. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was kind of an anomaly as far as guys producing, per game averages in the league. It's like if we're being honest, like yeah, Russ averaged a triple double, but I'd make the argument James Harden was the MVP that year.
I could see
Because
that.
I mean Russ's team wasn't an elite team.
I
They
could see that.
barely made it to the playoffs. It's like, yeah,
That's
he
like
averaged a
me.
triple double, cool.
That's like me. That's like me having to come to grips with, with Steve Nash's first MVP. That's I don't
Yeah, but I mean,
I had my reasons for believing that should
I
have been
mean
my
that's
guy.
the thing with Steve, man. They were the talk of the league. I
Yeah.
mean, that was a 60
No,
win team
no,
every
and
year.
that's what I'm saying. Like the Laker fan in me at the time was super bitter, but the Laker fan in me now understands it. It's yeah. Kobe got us to the postseason, but that year we were like a 7-8 seed,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
got bounced in the first round. So I mean,
yeah.
it's again, it's a matter, like you said, a matter of expectation versus what you're actually putting out
Does
there,
does
and
does Russ get dealt before the season?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Because it's
I
like
don't
once you opt in,
And the reason, yeah,
you're
and
there.
even on top of the opting in, I don't think he goes anywhere because nobody wants him.
Exactly.
It's
That
that's
that's
the
that's the part of the trade that people don't understand.
that yeah
Is in order like if a team trades for you, that means they want you on the roster.
yeah. I don't think there's a team out there that wants him. And I think another thing, it's a combination. So one, you have to actually want the dude.
Mm-hmm.
Two, you have to be willing to take on that money.
Yep.
And three, what is LA going to want for him? So
Yeah, and it's not even about what they want at this point. It's like what like what is a team willing to give you
well,
to
yeah. I
acquire this
mean,
guy? I mean,
one and the same. I mean, he's not
yeah,
going anywhere. He's going to be a Laker, and they always do, like on the radio, they always do like this whole like hot take thing where they'll like allow calls for like 10-15 minutes where people just, oh, give us your most outlandish takes. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and give an outlandish take right now. LA, and when I say LA, I mean the Lakers on this one. My squad will be lucky to see the postseason this year.
I think
putting
right now, like they're kind of looking at that they're probably in that run for like 7, 8, 9,
yeah,
you
and
know, at
that's
best.
granted everybody stays healthy. The team as it is right now is not deep enough. We are severely shorthanded when it comes to first round picks. Even if we wanted to try to make moves anywhere, nothing to offer. So I first round exit.
Yeah.
If it gets that far, I'm putting it on record right now. Everybody hears it so that when we come back and revisit this in April, I can look at all of y'all and be like, told you.
Yeah, and see, and that kind of lends itself to what we want to talk about next, which is the
Yeah, it does,
NBA
doesn't it?
dropping their schedule. Now, me and James talked about this, and that the perception of the Lakers is bad when the schedule drops and it's Christmas Day, and the Lakers are on the road playing my Mavs on
Yeah.
Christmas Day.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Think
just
about
go
it.
ahead. I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you this, man. I know we have our cameras on, but y'all don't get the privilege of seeing this just yet. We're gonna wait till we get some nicer cameras because y'all deserve to see all of this in all of its glory. But until then, Shane is the only one that gets to see me. So you're going to be the only one that gets to, go ahead and get your post game Christmas handshake early. Yes, and we don't even have to tell them what the post game handshake is. Just know that it's a certain set of fingers that are up to where Shane can see them right now because I already know what's gonna happen. Luca between Luca and Spence, Christian Wood, we're about to get run ragged, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because the big thing for the Lakers this year is going to be the same big thing that it's been for the last couple of years since the title run is health. And I really believe that by the time Christmas rolls around, we're already going to be dealing with at least one major injury. And when I say major injury, I mean to somebody that's expected to heavily contribute on the roster. I don't mean necessarily something that's season ending or any of that, but it's going to be something that's going to heavily limit somebody's time, as in like, oh, we're going to rest them this game, or we're going to do this, we're going to do that. So kudos to Dallas for the Christmas win. Yes, again, I'm just going very Rockstradamus tonight. I'm going, just pulling predictions out the wazoo. Yeah, I think Dallas is going to take that game, and I think that the league was smart in scheduling that because that is a huge boost for Dallas fans who are already, I don't even want to say on the bandwagon, but they're already, on the rise. That's a big win for them over a team like the Lakers on Christmas Day. So
You
kudos.
get Luca and LeBron, man. That's a
Yeah,
win for basketball fans
yeah,
everywhere. To be honest, I
absolutely.
mean, Luca's probably the odds-on favorite to win MVP, and that
Mm-hmm.
MVP candidates get Christmas Day games. You don't just
Mm-hmm.
give MVP, guys that aren't MVP or guys that aren't legit. You don't just give them Christmas Day.
We're not
Like,
going, but at the same time, we're not going to give the league that much credit because they did still book the Knicks to play. I don't care if it's Madison Square Garden. Come on, man.
yeah, and I mean, all right. So schedule dropped last week. Like, so we got NBA tip off week. Season's gonna start October 18th. We got Sixers and Celtics. We got the Warriors and Lakers. So the Lakers get to see Golden State get the rings
And I love
because
that.
for some reason the league just wants to stick it to the Lakers. I don't know why.
No, I mean it that doesn't surprise me. And I feel like for our next episode, I need to go back and look. I want to see the last time that the Lakers did not play on opening night.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's just one of those things where they want to, like, good or bad, the Lakers are one of a few teams in the league that are always going to be relevant simply because of who they are. So it's I'm not even going to sit here and say that the Lakers deserve to play on opening night. But it's again because of who they are, it's because of the star power, it's because they have one of the most talked about and one of the most still relevant players on the planet on the roster. They're going to go out of their way to draw attention. And so I understand why the league did it, but if they had gone another way, I wouldn't have been mad at that either.
Yeah. And I mean, just I would love to see after the trash talk, you know, obviously we get Warriors and Grizzlies on Christmas, but I was interested in the Warriors and Celtics running it back. I would have loved to seen that matchup again, just because you had, the stuff that Steph and Dre were saying after the fact, and like there was a lot of good natured trash talk with that. But I
So
mean,
you saying you would have
just
wanted you saying you would have wanted that like opening night?
I would be cool with
Or
Warriors Celtics opening night. I would have been
I
cool with
don't
that.
I don't think they're gonna do that opening night. I don't know. I don't feel like we get finals rematches that early.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, that would have been nice to see, but I don't feel like they're going to do something like that early. I feel like a lot of times when it comes to opening night stuff, they try to keep it within the same conference.
Yeah. And I mean,
So
we get Knicks and Grizzlies the next night. So October 19th, we get Knicks at the Grizzlies. We
kudos to
get
the
the
Grizz
Mavs
on their
and
first
Suns.
win. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we get Mavs and Suns. That's a rematch from the Western Conference Finals. Mavericks actually get to go back to the scene of the murder that they handed out in Game 7, where Luka himself had more points than Phoenix had as a team in the first half.
Slaughterhouse.
Yeah, so then I mean we move forward here. We got Thursday, October 20th. We got Bucks and Sixers. We got Lakers, Clippers. We got Celtics, Heat on Friday, the 21st. We got Nuggets, Warriors. Christmas Day, we talked about that earlier, but we got Knicks, Sixers, Lakers, Mavs. We got Bucks, Celtics, Warriors, Grizzlies. Get your popcorn ready for that one.
Oh, absolutely.
I still think the Warriors are probably gonna run Memphis right off the court though. Uh,
I think there's gonna be a surprise in there. I don't even
yeah, the surprise
even
will
if
be that they
no,
lose
no, no.
by 30.
No. I'm gonna go complete opposite. I'm not even gonna predict a Memphis win, but I don't think it's gonna be a blowout.
Yeah,
I
now
don't I don't think it'll be a blowout. I don't think Memphis has
it'll probably
I
be
don't
close. I'm
I
just
don't
talking trash, man.
yeah.
I think Warriors Grizzlies, that's gonna be interesting just because there's so much like fake tough guy talk going around. Like,
Ja Morant is going to try to dunk on Draymond at least twice in the game. The over under is at 2.5. And as of right now, I'm gonna slightly take the under, but we'll see how my opinion changes as we get closer to December.
yeah, and I mean, and what? Lastly, the last game there is Suns Nuggets. That's going to be huge because if teams are at full strength, I mean, you're talking Michael Porter Jr., you're talking Jamal Murray, like you're talking Phoenix, bringing their guys back, trying to make another run. Like the whole Christmas Day
Mm-hmm.
slate is pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
Going forward, we got MLK Day. We got 4 games scheduled there. We got Hawks and Heat. We got Suns, Grizzlies, Celtics, Hornets, which is odd, and Rockets, Lakers. So that we got that on MLK. That why are the Rockets getting national TV?
I was just about to say you
I'll
called the other
pass.
one odd. I
Pass.
was about to be like, no, I'll throw that one in there too.
Now, now here's something that's intriguing, and this is something that the league is trying now. The week of January 23rd,
Oh, there's
we
a
get
mess.
rivalry week.
Yeah, say
So I
that five
mean,
times fast, right?
yeah, I know, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I
Weak.
mean, we get the typical Lakers Celtics because what's a rivalry without them?
Mm-hmm.
We get Nuggets Sixers, Knicks and Nets, which is kind of you know,
Stupid.
that's kind of interesting. We get Mavs Suns. I think the
Yeah, I got
Suns will
my
actually be in Dallas for that one.
yeah, I got my rant
Um,
coming.
yes, we get Memphis and Minnesota, which is a rematch from the play-in last year.
Not important enough.
Chicago and Charlotte, which it'll be the battle of the
Literally,
Ball brothers. We got Lonzo versus LaMelo.
and that's the only reason. I'm like, come on now.
I'm actually interested to see that game just because I think both of those teams are fun. Nets and Sixers is that could be a potential Eastern Conference Finals matchup. Boston and Miami, and we get Toronto and Golden State, which isn't so much a rivalry, just because I mean nobody's really on that team. I
They
mean, there's no
played in the
Kawhi.
They played in the finals
Yeah,
once. That's not a
and that and
rivalry.
and what that finals feels like it was 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's pretty much the slate that we have with the new league schedule. Can't wait for the season to start. As a Mavs fan, this is the first year that I may not try to make that trip up to Atlanta because I don't think Luka's gonna get a chance to play. I think Dallas plays at Atlanta the latest, probably. Ooh, because usually they play in like February or like later, like maybe in November or something. This is the latest that they'll play that I can remember. I think Dallas plays at Atlanta April 9th
Now
or
here's one.
something like that.
Now here's one for you on the flip side, man. We gotta start looking at tickets on the other hand, because typically, you know, my squad, the Lakers don't normally show up to the A until around March. They play at State Farm right after Christmas. They
Yeah,
will be here in Atlanta. I think it's December 30th.
yeah,
I'm like, what? So
yeah,
so that immediately lets me know there will likely be extra bodies on the floor. Like, are you actually going to let these guys, like, are we gonna get to see LeBron and AD and Russ and Trey and DeJounte? Like, are we really gonna get to see all this happen? So I'm looking forward to that. But
yeah, yeah.
another, I will say, as crazy as this sounds, another game that I really am looking forward to early on in the season is that opening week game between the Lakers and the Clippers.
Mm-hmm.
I know, like I said, and we talked about this. I'll get into it in a second, but everybody that wants to consider the Lakers and Clippers a rivalry, stop it. It's not a rivalry for a number of reasons. The biggest of those being, a rivalry usually involves victories somewhat being split between teams. They go back and forth. You win some, you lose some. You look at the Lakers and Celtics, tied in titles right now. Teams go back and forth. They've literally beaten each other on the grandest stage. There are memorable moments that take place between those franchises. Lakers and Clippers, that's not there.
Yeah, you just share
It
a building.
it's not there, right? And I'm like, y'all are free to leave whenever you want. Like it's it
There's
the
that whole
thing,
covering up the banners thing too.
yeah, with selfies. So like so so my thing is, why do we consider it a rivalry when for the longest time the Lakers owned it all? Now, as a Laker fan, I have no problem coming out and saying for the last few years the Clippers have absolutely smacked us around. I get it. I understand it. But at the same time, after you smacked us, how many trophies did y'all hold up? Like, leave it there. This is
Yeah.
not a rivalry yet. Just like,
Yeah.
hey, the joke I made about it earlier, Shane. I'm like, look, y'all might look, we're still the big brother. You might come and beat us down. But guess what? Once dinner's ready, I still get to go fix my plate first. So no, you're still sitting in the corner. You're still sitting in the corner. You still got to watch me open my gift on Christmas first before you get to go.
Yeah.
So that to me is not a rivalry. It's another prime example, and I hit you with this one earlier. To anybody listening, think about it like this: if the Clippers were the team in Utah instead of the Jazz, would the Lakers and Clippers be considered a rivalry?
No.
Absolutely not. So it's not a rivalry. And another one of those that goes into that week, Shane, that you brought up that I think is ridiculous, Brooklyn and the Knicks. Like, you're really trying to make that a rivalry when, less than 20 years ago, the Nets were in New Jersey? It's not even, that has never been a rivalry. That is not, and plus the Knicks.
I just think that's that battle for New York
Yeah,
deal.
yeah.
Like each of these have their own thing. Like we can go down the line. All right, Lakers,
Mm-hmm.
Celtics, self-explanatory.
Mm-hmm.
Nuggets, Sixers isn't about the teams. That's about Jokic
It's
and
an
Embiid.
individual thing. Yeah.
Knicks and Nets, that's the whole battle for New York.
Mm-hmm.
Mavs, Suns, that
Now,
one,
see, that one, okay. Now, even if we don't want to legit label that a rivalry,
it's close.
there's still a reason. It has to be either one of the two. And here's what it is. It's like rivalry or relevance. And when I say relevance, I mean something current. So the fact that these two teams just went at it a few months ago, that to me fits that into that week. Yeah. Like, so I'm okay with them being there. I'm okay with Phoenix and Dallas.
Yeah, Mav Suns, to me, that one's interesting because prior to this year, at least in the regular season, Phoenix has kind of been kind of the one that's taken most of those matchups. Phoenix has always been kind of a tough matchup for Dallas anyway. But the Suns blowing that, being a 64 win team and blowing it against Dallas when they had a lead, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, they start talking crap. Next thing you know, the infamous clip. Now you got Luka coming back in the locker room saying everybody acting tough when they up, and then he just destroys these.
Yeah,
this dude goes on a tear and destroys this team, dismantles them almost single handedly. Like that's something there, because Phoenix is kind of how like the Clippers were. Like the Clippers had all these guys and they decided they wanted to talk and they acted big and bad, and then they never won anything. And Phoenix, let's not kid ourselves. Phoenix is only a couple years removed from being like a 21 win team. Devin Booker ain't won jack, right? Like before Chris Paul got there, like Phoenix was a tire fire, and Devin Booker ain't won nothing. And in that series last year in the Western Conference Finals, that was Devin Booker's chance to put his stamp on the series, and he ran from that. Chris Paul didn't do nothing until they were down 42. Right. Like that's two guys now where even though they needed each other to kind of help each other's along the way trying to go for a championship, two guys that ain't won nothing. It's like CP's never been able to get over the hump, whether it's injury, whether it's just
usually
him.
I mean,
like
I feel like that's one place where the injury bug has like picked a preference.
Yeah, and even last year, it's like you were a front running team, and you came up against a team that had the best player at that time, arguably the best player in the world, and he damn sure played like it against you. And they beat you in game 7, and then they go to the Western Conference Finals. Like, even though Dallas ran up against the buzzsaw in Golden State, like they finally exercised that demon of, okay, yeah, we can beat Phoenix. And so, I think that's a budding rivalry. Memphis and Minnesota is interesting because that was the whole play-in deal.
I feel like I just need to see more for that to actually draw me in. Like, it's something about that. I'm just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's chances here with this. Like, if everything pans out in Minnesota, like I think the more I've thought about it since we did our pod, when we did our "What's the Word" segment, like the more I think about Minnesota, I feel like they could be one of those teams. Like, they may not win nothing in the playoffs, but they could be one of those like regular season juggernauts. Like you could look up, because Minnesota has a lot of talent. You could look up and Minnesota could be like a 52 win team. You could look up and see that. they're that talented. Like Memphis and Minnesota, that could be interesting. Chicago, Charlotte, that's a sibling rivalry.
Yeah.
Nets and Sixers, that's always been one that's kind of dope. Shout out to Dr. J. I'm sure he's got a little, you know, Boston, Miami, that goes back to the LeBron days, really. There's always something there with that matchup. The only one I don't really mess with is Toronto and Golden State. That to me, that's the oddest one on the whole list. Just because it's
Yeah.
like I said, the last time they really played with high stakes, it felt like
It's
15
been
years ago.
this 3 years. No, it's that one is irrelevant. I mean, and I feel like something else that could have been done that would have been cool, because clearly they threw stuff on here where it's like some of them are head scratchers.
Yeah.
I'm like, if that's really what y'all were going for, let's go into historical rivalries. Why, like, let's get a game, like, for anybody that's a little bit older, they'll understand this, and as soon as I say it, you will too. Let's get a game in there between the Knicks and the Heat.
Yeah.
Let's explain why some of these rivalries exist.
Yeah.
Let's get a game that week between Chicago and Detroit.
Yeah. How come? And here's one that completely throws me because I don't see it on any of the like the marquees.
Mm.
Where's Hawks and Knicks?
Come
If
on.
we're talking recency,
Come on. Come on.
can we swap out Knicks and Nets
Take a
for
bow,
and put the Atlanta Hawks in there?
take a bow and make sure the game is in Madison Square Garden.
Exactly. Like to me, like the Knicks Hawks rivalry, at least Trae Young has made that what it is.
Yes, Trae is that villain, and I love
Yeah,
everything
like
about
that.
it.
That's kind of what you need. You need a villain in a rivalry. Like
Mm-hmm.
Luca, like he's become that guy now. It's funny seeing it on seeing it on Twitter, but
Mm-hmm.
once you piss off Luca, he just becomes like this different guy. And
Yeah.
and, and he's
Yeah.
become what Mavs Twitter has come to call him asshole Luca, where
Yeah.
that dude just comes out and he's going to find a way to embarrass your whole team.
I
And
love
he's
it.
he's cool with being the villain, and I'm cool with that. Like Ja Morant, he can be a villain.
Yes.
Like LeBron can
We're
be
gonna
the
call
villain.
it your nickname. Look, if he's a villain in a random movie, we're gonna call John Morant the gritty grizzly.
There you go. There you go. Like look, like think about all these like KD, Kyrie could be villains. Joel Embiid could be a villain.
Mm-hmm.
Like you know what I mean? Like Marcus Smart could be a villain. Steph
Easily.
Curry, as sweet as everybody wants Steph Curry to be, like Steph Curry has some dog.
Babyface assassin.
I mean, Draymond Green's there too. So Draymond Green's the ultimate heel too. So
Donkey.
yeah,
Sorry.
so that's pretty much it, man. As far as NBA tipping off the season, I'm glad that we're back, that we're able
Yeah.
to put this show together.
We're gonna try to keep it more
We've gone
regular for
through a lot.
y'all.
We've dealt with some things, and now hopefully we're coming out on the other end of it.
Definitely.
As we mentioned at the end of our Bill Russell episode, if you haven't heard that yet, you need to go back and check that. That's our last episode.
Please do.
We did tease an upcoming episode that is very special to me and James. This is something that we're going to actually sit down and do at some point. I'm sure you're wondering if you've been listening to our podcast. I've gotten a couple questions on my own personal social media. People want to know, what does JWJ actually stand for? Like what like people want to know. Like I've had a couple. What the hell is JWJ? What is that?
Yeah.
And so, we will get to that. I'm not going to say it's the next episode. I'm not going to say when it's going to be, but that's the beauty
Keep
of this. This is
listening.
why y'all should stay tuned.
Keep listening.
So with
Bottom
that being
line.
said, man, y'all know the drill. You made it this far. Thank you for listening. Also, part of that deal of you guys listening to us is making sure that you can get to our content whenever possible. We have lots of ways to do that. We're on YouTube. You can find us at the JWJ Podcast on YouTube. All of our episodes have been uploaded, so you guys can check those out. Also, we're on Instagram at the JWJ Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter. Also, you can like us on Facebook at the JWJ Podcast. We're doing pretty good on Facebook. So love for you guys to join us on there. If you'd like to follow me and James more personally, you can follow James at Title Towns Mayor. You can find him on Instagram and Twitter at that handle. And you can find me at It's a Thomas Thing on Twitter and on Instagram. So with that being said, man, James, glad we're able to do this again, man. Uh, this is like you said at the beginning, man. This is a passion project, and we're really excited to be able to do this. We're going to continue to put out content, and hopefully, more you guys can listen, and we can grow our following that way. So, with that being said, thank you guys for listening. Again, you know where to find us, and we look forward to seeing you guys and keeping up with the conversation. So, with that being said, thank you for listening to JWJ.
Love y'all. Good night.